Hi. Hey, I thought today'd be a good day for some history. Got the monument behind us. And what was here before the courthouse? Come along with me and I'll share some history with you. About 1/6 or a little over 1,500 men joined to fight in the Union Army from Goodhue County. That's what that statue represents. That honors those men. So one of the things you'll see out in front of the courthouse is this statue of a Civil War soldier. The statue was placed here in 1913. The county commissioners gathered together and appropriated about half the funds to erect the statue, and the public put in the rest. The cost was about $3,000, and it depicts all the different volunteers that came from Goodhue County for their call in the Civil War. The Civil War soldier standing on top of the monument is dressed with his kepi and greatcoat, holding on to his musket. He's a young man, and he represents all the Civil War soldiers that fought from Goodhue County that were in the infantry. The lower section of the monument depicts a G.A.R. badge. That's the Grand Army of the Republic. That organization came about just after the Civil War. To join that organization, you would have had to have been a Union soldier between 1861 and 1865. There were 4 chapters in Goodhue County: Red Wing, Cannon Falls, Zumbrota, and Pine Island. The crossed cannons represents the batteries. Those are the men that fought from Goodhue County that were in the batteries. These are the big guns that we all know as cannons. On the back side is an anchor representing those that fought in the Navy. These cross sabers represent the cavalry. If you were lucky enough to own a horse back then, you could have maybe joined the cavalry. The statues always sat here, but at one time it was in front of the old courthouse. The old courthouse was torn down and the new courthouse was built. This new style was considered Art Deco. And you'll see many of the courthouses that were built in the 1930s that look similar. I might add that the building was built during the Depression, and the WPA had a hand in building this building. Just get a look at the lights alongside the doors, how bold they are. So the story kind of goes back to 1853. That's when Goodhue County was established. And they say the first county commissioners meeting was on a pile of logs, a pile of lumber. Be kind of interesting to kind of envision all these county commissioners having their first meeting, sitting on a bunch of lumber, deciding what to do. And that's when they put together this courthouse block. And you know, it took a few years before they got into building the courthouse after that. Courthouse was started in 1857 and finished in 1858. So those few years preceding that, the finish of the courthouse, they wound up having their commissioners meetings at a lawyer's office in town. And then in 1858, of course, they moved into their new courthouse. I'll show you. I got a postcard of the courthouse back then. It was a red brick building with a very nice looking dome on it. And that courthouse was used until 1930, and then it was torn down, and this new courthouse was erected. So while it was being erected, of course, they had to find other places that they could carry on their county business. Now, searching back in history, I've found places where it says that old courthouse was sound at the time, and then I found history where they're saying the dome structure was not sound anymore, and the cost to repair it would have been extreme, so they thought it would be best to build another courthouse. So I guess it depends on which history you're finding. So here's a picture. It's a postcard, colorized postcard of what that courthouse looked like when they built it in 1858. So in searching history, you know, you find all these tidbits of information, and talking about the old courthouse, as time went on, there was a jail put on, and you know, additions, and I found reference to the sheriff's wife cooking dinners for the prisoners and then delivering them to the jail. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That was also the courthouse that was used for the war meetings that went on in 1861. In April, there were war meetings at that courthouse, and I'll get into that history a little bit further along on one of my other videos that I'm making about following the Goodhue volunteers through Red Wing. So in 1930, the old courthouse was torn down, and this new one was built then at that time. So I'm in the foyer area where you first come in. We're going to go up to the second and third floor so we can see the rotunda, but first I'll show you this. That's another view of the old courthouse and Red Wing's first fire bell. That's the bell that would have hung in the dome of the first courthouse. It was built in 1858. Around the ceiling you'll see all the township names. I don't know how steady I can be, but I'll try to go around the circle so you can see all of them. The elevator's been restored, I think about 10 years ago. But it still has that same 1930s look. So I'm standing on the 3rd floor now, and you can see the Rotunda ceiling there behind me. And I'm going to show you a few clips of that. Well, I'll go down to the 2nd floor and start there, and then I'll work my way back up here to where we are. And when you're looking around the ceiling on the Rotunda ceiling, of course, each of those pictures represents something that was going on in Goodhue County at the time that the building was built. Hope you enjoy it. Just for common knowledge, I did go up to administrations and I got permission to be in this building and take these photographs so I could share them with you. Well, I hope you liked that little bit of history. I love history, so wife and I are always doing something with it. Hey, if you've never been up here to the courthouse, you ought to come up here and walk through that rotunda. It really is beautiful, something to see. And hey, thanks for viewing, and give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe. Catch you on our next one.